Today's ancient witness comes from Luke chapter 10, verses 1 through 9, and this is the First Nations version. After this, Creator sets free, Jesus, chose 70 from the ones who walked the road with him. He sent them out 2 by 2 to prepare the way for him in the villages he was about to visit on his way to the sacred village of peace, Jerusalem. He said to them, "There is a great harvest before us, but there are not enough helpers. Pray to the harvest chief so that the harvest chief will send more helpers. Go and represent me. You will be like lambs walking among wolves. Take no money pouch or traveling bundle with you, not even a second pair of moccasins. Waste no time greeting others on the way. When you lodge with someone, say to them first, 'Peace be to this house.' If people of peace live there, you will be welcomed. If not, your blessing of peace will return to you as you leave. Stay with the ones who welcome you. There is no need to move around from house to house. Share their food and drink with them, for the ones who work hard are worth feeding. In any village that welcomes you, eat whatever they set before you. Offer healing prayers for anyone who are sick, and say to them, 'Creator's good road, the kingdom of God, has come close to you.'" And the modern witness is called Field Guide, a poem by Tony Hoagland. Once in the cool blue middle of a lake, up to my neck in that most precious element of all, I found a pale gray, curled upwards pigeon feather floating on the tension of the water at the very instant when a dragonfly, like a blue-green iridescent bobby pin, hovered over it, then lit and rested. That's all. I mention this in the same way that I fold the corner of a page in certain library books, so that the next reader will know where to look for the good parts.
Today's sermon's going to start with a little interactive activity. You all have index cards there. There is something to write with nearby. And on one side, I'd like you to make a list. Doesn't have to be long. Make a list of all the gifts you have already received today. When you woke up, when you got here, very short time. And on the flip side, you can note all the gifts you gave this morning from when you woke up to today. And I'll talk and write. A couple of months ago, a good friend of mine suggested an app to use. It's called Merlin. Have you heard of it? Yeah. Well, it's about the magician that was on King Arthur's court sometime in the Middle Ages. Wait. No, that's not it. I just. Merlin is a machine learning powered bird identification tool created by the fine folks at the University of Cornell in upstate New York. And the app uses sound to identify bird species. I use it on walks through my neighborhood on Sunnyside Hill, and it helps me to match up bird calls with birds. And I was interested in the app because I recognized some of the bird calls from my childhood and of growing up near a lake. So I heard this familiar bird song from my youth around cattail vegetation. You familiar with this? And the app identified this bird that I could remember as the red-winged blackbird. Imagine that. A gift that magically appeared to remind me that even in a faraway place like Pullman, I have a sense of home. I mention that because scientists think that gift giving is among the most primal of human relationships. And peace activist Genevieve Vaughn says that we begin our lives in a maternal gift economy, which is how she describes the flow of goods and services from mother to newborn. She says that when a mother nurses its child, it becomes no longer about the individual, but in such a case, the common good is all that matters. There is no meritocracy involved, no earning of sustenance, only a gift of milk so that life can continue. It's the giving and taking and caring for one another in support of life. Now, I'm sure many of you here do not go to the store to buy cherries. You probably know someone who has a tree, or maybe even you have one yourself that is producing fruit this time of year. And if you do, you've probably given some out, or you've received some from someone else. I'm no different. The cherries that I have right here are a gift that was harvested on Saturday. And the person said there were so many they didn't know what to do with them all. Part of nature's bounty, I suppose. So they gifted some to me. Well, actually, they brought them to a potluck community gathering, and I was gifted them as leftovers, which keeps the gift in motion. And of course, there's a few missing. I've eaten those. I've learned in my childhood, I can't eat too many at one time. So I haven't made that again, but perhaps these will find their way over to coffee hour and the gift will continue. Well, one of the interesting birds that the Merlin app, which is free by the way, has identified in my neighborhood is the cedar waxwing. It's a squatty looking bird with a black Zorro-like mask across its eyes. And if you know anything about cedar waxwings, you know that they love berries. It's 84% of their diet, I think. And one they particularly like to feed on is service berries. Service berries partly get their name from their European cousins sarvis, S-A-R-V-I-S. You may have heard of the sarvis tree. Sounds like service. But it also gets its name from its flowering time. It's one of the first trees to flower in the spring. And as it turns out, its flowering is an indicator that the ground has thawed from the long winter, which was important information for folks in need of burial in colonial America. Not only is it one of the first plants to flower, it's also one of the first plants to produce fruit. And speaking of that, you may know it by its other name of Juneberry, because the fruit typically ripens in June. If you're not familiar with it, it can look a lot like a blueberry. It's a small and hard and typically dry. And Robin Kimmerer, who is part of the Potawatomi indigenous community, describes it like this, quote, "Imagine a fruit that tastes like a blueberry crossed with the satisfying heft of an apple, a touch of rose water, and a minuscule crunch of almond-flavored seeds. They taste like nothing a grocery store has to offer, wild and complex, with a flavor that your body recognizes as the real food it's been waiting for, unquote. Sounds nice. The Potawatomi have a word for the service berry. They call it bozakmin, which translates to the best of the berries. For them, the same root word for berry appears in blueberry, strawberry, and raspberry, as you would think. But it also appears in their word for apple and maize and wild rice. And something else about that culture, the same root word for berry, M-I-N, also means gift. One Native American linguist thinks of berries as gifts from our plant relatives, manifestations of their generosity, care, and creativity. It's part of the giving and taking and caring for creation in support of life. Almost as if the tree says, "Take, eat, this is my body given for you. All I ask is that you continue the gift and drop the seed, so another tree can be planted and another gift can be given." In our text for the day, Jesus is sending his followers on what would be their second mission into the unknown. And this time, the spotlight falls on the participating with Jesus and on his reliance on God. Jesus frames his mission in terms of a great harvest and tells them that while the harvest is plentiful, the helpers are few. And any harvest is indeed a time of great urgency. We know that a fruit tree blooms for only a certain amount of time. And Bible scholar Alan Culpepper notes that the common day laborer would understand the exhortation to plead with the landowner to bring in more helpers for the harvest. And keep in mind that standing in the shade of this statement is the parable of the sower and the seed, that for the followers of Christ, it is now time to gather in the harvest from the soil that has produced 100-fold. And that's how it goes with abundance, when there is more than enough to go around. Here, Jesus is beginning to build up his kingdom of believers. So the survival of his followers, his advanced community organizers, if you will rely upon the gift of hospitality and food in the towns to which they will travel. They make their way healing and teaching. And despite that bit about the worker being worthy of their wages that Susan read, these gifts do not appear to be transactional, but instead the food, the housing, the healing, the teaching is offered as gifts of the land, reciprocal in nature, and in the midst of it, folks' needs get met. It's like putting gifts in motion. The residents have extra food and extra room, and the visitors have passions and skills and time on their hands. This is how communities are built, through gifting, through table fellowship, and through care related to physical needs. Food has the power to bring people together, to connect people, to build bridges, and facilitate a sense of belonging. And gifts help with that too, especially when they come from a place of abundance. And it's not just food, it's knowledge, it's skill sets, it's kindness. It's recognizing what is plentiful and where there is need. The Potawatomi people understand it, this relationship of caring like this. The leaf that drops from the maple tree in the fall becomes fuel for the fungi and invertebrates. The humus they create helps to stabilize the soil and provides communication highways for the forest. And in gratitude for the sun and the rain, the tree bears its fruit, which will in turn nourish a countless number of birds and animals. It's a part of the giving and taking and caring for one another in support of life. An endless network of generosity and gratitude, the way God intended the world to be. And I wonder sometimes, how might the world be different if the person who shared cherries with me on Saturday anticipated that I would motion that forward into another gift, even one different than cherries? But it doesn't have to come from someone. It can just be random things like noticing the stars. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote that if the stars came out only one night in 1,000 years, that night would be considered an astounding spectacle, a wonder of the world. And anyone alive would stay up and behold them in breathless awe. And yet, there they are each cloudless night, no less miraculous for being so frequently visible. What do you notice? A dragonfly? The stillness of water? Maybe a folded over page of a book at a library? How might the world be different if we were grateful? Everyone grateful for that. God made a world of plenty, and I'm grateful for the cedar waxwing bird who participates in that. And something else to note about that bird, according to one research scientist at the Smithsonian Institute, when the end of a twig holds a supply of berries that only one bird at a time can reach, members of a flock will line up along the twig and pass berries beak to beak down the line so that each bird gets a chance to eat. Part of the giving and receiving and caring of one another in support of life. So the next time you find someone has given you a gift, what will you do? Perhaps you will give the gift of love. Thanks be to God.